So, what is design? When people first think of design, they usually think about fashion design, graphic design, or architecture. But at its core, design is much more. It's problem solving with a human centered approach, and it's a broad and encompassing term that is plentiful throughout every aspect of our life. Everything is designed when you think about it. From the clothes we wear to the chairs we sit in, or to the computer, tablet, or phone that you're watching this on right now, to any kind of DIY project. A common misconception is design is just making things look pretty, but there's more than what meets the eye. Design is fundamentally human. It's the want to investigate, understand, and improve. It's knowing what questions to ask and what are the right problems to solve and how should they be solved. Design uses curiosity, creativity, and craft to improve the world around us. It's always changing, but design is everything, and everything is designed. Design is broad and continuously redesigning itself, so it's hard to pin down an exact definition. But simply put, design is an ever-changing process of envisioning and meticulously planning out the creation of objects, systems, products, and services with a human-centered and user-oriented approach. The design process is something we all overlook because we usually only see the finished product or service. What we don't see is the process, and that's what we'll really be focusing on throughout this course. To simplify this a little further, when thinking about design from a very generalist point of view, I see two significant aspects of design. So first, there's strategy, and secondly, there's execution. Whenever you encounter bad design, it's usually missing half of this. So it's either missing strategy or the execution. Unfortunately, a lot of design firms don't have this down to a science either. Because most people see design as the finished product, it can be really difficult to see what goes into it. So that strategy portion. When a client comes to a design firm, usually they're missing out on the strategy part, and designers and design firms usually don't make a big deal about that either. So if you look at the sort of diagram in front of us, picture this as two rooms, and this is sort of the design firm. There's strategy and there's execution. And there's doors on either part. So usually when someone is coming to a design firm for their services, they're coming for one or the other. But in reality, they should be coming for both. And you can kind of see how the wall gaps in the bottom there. What usually happens is when someone comes for design services, or I guess, let's say execution services, there's always strategy tied in there because it's sort of the thinking behind why. And so that's always a part of it. But it's not really seen by the clients, and people don't really understand that. And it's the same vice versa. So if a client is coming for strategy services, usually there's also a great deal of execution, and they're kind of going in between these rooms, the people inside of the design agency, to give whatever the end product is for the client. But this is a really simple way and a simple diagram to look at kind of what design is. Another way to look at the strategy and execution part of design is, for example, if I were asked by a client to design a poster, I must first consider why, who the audience is, what the message is they wish to communicate, and is the poster the most effective and efficient way to make a meaningful connection and impact with your audience. So that is the strategy portion. Then there's execution, where all the visual elements get tied into the poster. All the typography, the color, whatever it is I'm using as a styling. So this is really what design is as a whole throughout the entire discipline, which is super wide spanning. And that goes into communication design, product design, environmental design, brand identity, architecture, fashion, all these kind of things, which we will talk a little bit more about in depth in the following class. But to conclude this video, there are three main points that I want you to take from it. So the first is there is a lot more than what meets the eye with design, and it's kind of that process and everything behind it that was led to the decisions that were made and the final product. Second is the two main parts of design are strategy and execution. And the third is design is all about solving problems and putting the user first and jumping into their shoes through empathy.